A forensic expert has told the jury in the Stephen Lawrence murder trial that there was no realistic possibility of contamination of evidence in the early stages of the investigation. Well, Ronke Phillips was in court for that and is here with all the details. Ronke.
Yes, thanks, Natasha. Today we heard from Rosalind Hammond, who dismissed claims that fragments of blood, fibres and hair could have transferred to the suspect's clothing during the handling and storage of items. It was day 16 of the trial. Arriving at the Old Bailey, Rosalind Hammond, who looked at the way scientists and police handled exhibits in the initial stages of the investigation to see if their actions could have led to contamination. Earlier in the trial, the jury heard the jacket Stephen Lawrence had been wearing on the night he was killed had been removed from the cell at Eltham Police Station, taken out of its evidence bag and laid on a ground sheet on the floor to be photographed. Defence lawyers have suggested this exposure could have resulted in this tiny blood flake falling off, being picked up at a later date and transferred onto this jacket belonging to Gary Dobson, one of the accused. But Miss Hammond says it was unlikely, as the dead teenager's items were taken to the lab 9 days before exhibits belonging to Gary Dobson and his co-accused David Norris were stored in a different part of the same cell. She said there is no realistic possibility of contamination occurring in this way. Miss Hammond then explained how several steps would have to occur for any contamination to have happened. First, she said particles would need to have travelled from Stephen's jacket to the floor, then from the floor to the outside of the Dobson exhibit bag. From there, the same particles would then have had to have transferred to the forensic lab bench, and from the bench onto the suspect's jacket. It would then have to stay on the jacket as it's placed back into the exhibit bag and only then fall off. Added to that, Miss Hammond said that at every stage the likelihood of contamination reduces. Miss Hammond also ruled out fibre transfer by officers who were involved in searches of the defendants' houses days after visiting the Lawrence home. Prosecutor Mark Ellison QC asked her, "Have you come across any scenario that you regard as a possible opportunity for contamination?" She replied, "No, I have not." Stephen Lawrence was stabbed and killed as he waited at this bus stop in Eltham in southeast London in April 1993 by a gang of white youths shouting racist abuse. Gary Dobson and David Norris deny murder. Miss Hammond will be cross-examined by their barristers tomorrow. Ronke Phillips, London Tonight, the Old Bailey.
A man